Hi guys, good evening, and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be discussing what I thought of the latest episode of the horror anthology series AMC's The Terror Infamy. The second episode of season 2 just dropped a few minutes ago. I just got done watching it. Yikes. Whew. Very intense stuff. Now, before I begin, of course, please be warned, this is a spoiler-filled episode review. Again, if you're not caught up on this show, specifically this episode, do not keep watching or listening to this, as I will be going to spoilers, plot giveaways, character details, key scenes, and all that jazz. So you have been warned. If you're not caught up on the Terror Infamy by the season premiere, last week's episode, or this episode from earlier tonight, don't keep watching or listening. It will be ruined for you. Okay, that's your spoiler warning. You have been warned. Let's jump right into it. You know, this episode was incredibly frightening. Not frightening because of like the acts of the Yurei, which is our demon disguised as the Japanese girl calling herself Yuko. You know, the one who's doing like the neck crunching and twinging and is obviously not human. You know, she had some creepy parts in this episode, but the thing that was so frightening about this episode is that it's kind of hard to deny there's some serious parallels between what the Japanese Americans went through at these internment camps and nowadays down at our own border at the United States-Mexican border, where the highly controversial methods of separating families, specifically children from their parents, and placing them into holding detention facilities before they're processed or deported or whatever's happening to them, it feels all too reminiscent. You know, it feels extremely similar, and it just sent a chill down my spine that, you know, this kind of thing is happening nowadays in our country, where, you know, we're treating people, you know, they're not American citizens necessarily, but we're treating a large group of people because they're different from us for different reasons, you know, like, arguably very poorly and not in the best way possible. And just this episode showing what the Japanese Americans have gone through, what they went through during this internment camp process, and then just knowing about the controversies happening at our own border, and the highly sensitive, controversial topic on immigration, legal, illegal immigration, you know, whatever your stance is on it. There are a lot of historic parallels here. And it's just, this episode was just so frightening to see what the Japanese Americans went through. I mean, the scene when the soldiers come into the orphanage and take all the Japanese kids out, it was very reminiscent of like children being taken from their parents and their families at the border in today's world. It was very unsettling and frightening. I mean, it was a well-written, great episode, but, you know, just the historic parallels were not lost on me. I don't know if anybody else felt that way or noticed it, but it just felt all too real almost, you know. And I think that's a good sign. That's a sign of a good story or good storytelling, when you can take something that's not meant to be horror but still make it as horrific as possible, much like how, you know, something that's equally scary as a made-up shape-shifting spirit, which is how human beings can treat other human beings. And, you know, it was just, gosh, it was just so unsettling, but in kind of like in a good way, because it was just so well told and such a well done episode. I guess there's been a time jump since Pearl Harbor. It's now about 2-3 months later, and now they're finally starting to round up the Japanese Americans, and they're putting them in the internment camps. Too bad about Chester's dad, and him and the other older guys seem to be taken very far away, and they're making them fish, or they're trying to make them prove they are who they claim to be, or they say they are, and they're debating amongst themselves, you know, about what we the viewers know is happening, that Yurei, or an evil spirit, is amongst them, terrorizing them. And obviously, as revealed through dialogue between Chester's dad Henry and George Takei's character Yamato-san, they're talking about how they're been a lot of unexplained, mysterious deaths between this episode and the season premiere. And I think my favorite scene of this episode has to be, I was afraid they were going to kill an innocent man, but when the three older guys start interrogating the younger Japanese guy on the frozen body of water, and then he finally confesses to being a spy sent by the Department of Justice to look for enemies of the state or for foreign spies, and then they kind of leave his fate ambiguous, like does he fall through the ice and drown or not, and they just leave him there to fend for himself, because in their eyes, understandably, he is indeed a traitor to them and their community. You know, he was going to rat on his own people and his own neighbors to the American government, and you can understand why the three elderly guys would have been so pissed about that. But I loved how all three of them took turns taking their pickaxes to the ice, making it crack even more so with each question that they were pressing him with. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked that scene a lot. But yeah, solid episode. I mean, frightening, eerie historical parallels, and just mixed with good storytelling made for an excellent episode. And I really can't wait to see what comes next, because as long as they keep this awesome blend of like fact and fiction together, you know, I think we're in for a real treat this season. So what did you guys think of tonight's episode? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you expecting more, expecting less? I want to hear your thoughts, opinions, and your feedback down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. The Terror Infamy premieres every Monday night on AMC. Check it out. It is a good show. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.